Now, she wasn't even sure what he did or where he lived. He moved a lot, changed girlfriends a lot. He called her on Christmas and her birthday. He's a lawyer. The beautifuls nodded their approval. One more question. This came from Jillian. The redhead with the cat-like green eyes. Do you have a boyfriend? Sarah felt her face heat up. No, not at the moment. Well, Jillian said, leaning forward, is there a boy you like? Sarah knew her face had to be as red as her dress. Yes, Jillian smiled. And his name is? Sarah looked around to make sure he wasn't nearby. Mason Blair, she half whispered. Ooh, he's hot, Jillian said. Definitely hot, Lydia echoed. Hot, the other girls repeated like a chorus. So, Lydia said, looking Sarah over, don't follow us around like a puppy dog or anything, but if you want to sit with us at lunch, then sit. On Sunday afternoons, we go to the mall and try on clothes and makeup. Maybe get a froyo. It's lame, but it's something to do. This town is so boring. She yawned theatrically. So boring, Sarah agreed, but inside she was buzzing with excitement. Lydia nodded. We'll hang out a little and see how things go. If it works out, maybe you can go out for cheerleader next year. Consider this a trial period. Sarah left the cafeteria smiling to herself. Abby caught up to her. It looked like you were having some kind of intense job interview back there, Abby said. She was wearing gray sweatpants with a bulky purple sweater that did nothing to show off her shape. Yeah, kind of. They invited me to hang out though. So I guess I passed the test. She couldn't stop herself from smiling. Abby raised an eyebrow. And those are the kind of friends you want? The kinds that make you pass a test? They're cool, Abby. They know all about fashion and makeup and guys. They're shallow, Sarah. They're as shallow as a rain puddle. No, I take that back. They're so shallow, they make a rain puddle look like the ocean. Sarah shook her head. She loved Abby. She really did. But why did she have to be so judgmental? But they rule the school. That's how it works. It's the beautiful people who get what they want. She looked at Abby's gorgeous brown complexion, at her striking hazel eyes. You could be beautiful too, Abby. You'd be the prettiest girl in school if you lost those glasses and braids and bought some clothes that weren't so baggy. If I didn't wear any glasses, I'd be walking into walls, Abby said, with a little edge in her voice. And I like my braids and my baggy clothes, especially this sweater. It's cozy. She shrugged her shoulders. I guess I just like myself the way I am. Sorry if I'm not fancy or fashionable enough for you. I'm not like the cheerleaders or all those models and pop stars whose pictures you've plastered all over your room. But you know what? I'm a nice person, and I don't judge people on how they look or how much money they have, and I don't have to give a person a pop quiz to see if I'll let them hang out with me or not. Abby looked at Sarah's face searchingly. You've changed, Sarah, and not for the better. Abby turned her back on Sarah and marched down the hall. Sarah knew Abby was a little mad at her, but she also knew an apology and a hug would fix things once she'd had time to cool down. After the bell, walking towards the school bus, Sarah became suddenly aware of a presence beside her. Hi, a male voice said. She turned to see Mason Blair looking perfect in a blue shirt that brought out the color of his eyes. Oh, hi. So Lydia said you guys were talking about me in the cafeteria today. Well, Sarah fought the urge to run. Say, if you don't have anything else to do you want to go over to the brown cow and have a cone with me? Sarah smiled. She could hardly believe her good luck today. I don't have man, I'm messing up a lot. I don't have anything else to do. The brown cow was basically a little concrete block shed that sold soft serve ice cream and milkshakes. It was right across the street from the school, but Sarah usually resisted the temptation of stopping there, since she had always been worried about her weight. She stood next to Mason at the counter, where the same bored-seeming old lady always took orders. Chocolate, vanilla, or swirl? He asked her. Swirl, she said, making a move to open her purse. No, Mason said, putting up his hand. I got it. It's a cheap date. I can handle it. Thanks. It's a date. It was a real date. Sarah's first. They sat across from each other at a picnic table. Mason attacked his cone with gusto, but Sarah took tiny licks. She didn't want to eat like a pig in front of Mason, and she was afraid of the ice cream dripping on her dress and making her look like a slob. Even with her self consciousness, though, she had to admit the cold, creamy treat was delicious. I haven't had ice cream in ages, she said. Why's that? Mason said. Watching your weight? Sarah nodded. No need to worry about that, Mason said. You look great. It's funny. You've been going to this school a long time, right? I don't know how I only just noticed you. Sarah felt herself blushing. You noticed me when I ran and into you with that salad, right? Mason looked at her with his dark lashed ocean blue eyes. I didn't notice you the way I should have. I clearly need to pay better attention. Me too, Sarah said. So I don't keep plowing into people with trays of salad. Mason laughed, showing those gorgeous white teeth. Sarah was amazed by how confident her new looks made her feel. She could eat ice cream with a cute guy and make jokes with him. The old Sarah would have been much too shy. Not that a cute guy would have asked the old Mix and Match Sarah out for ice cream in the first place. Once they had finished their cones, Mason said, Hey, is your house pretty close? I could walk you back if you like. Sarah felt a twinge of anxiety. Mason's dad was a doctor, and his mom was a successful real estate agent whose face was plastered on billboards. His family probably lived in a mansion on the fancy side of town. She wasn't ready for him to walk with her past the garbage dump to the plain little two-bedroom bungalow she shared with her living from paycheck to paycheck single mom. Uh, I actually have to run a couple of errands this afternoon. Maybe another time? Sure. Okay. Was it Sarah's imagination, or did he look kind of disappointed? He looked down at his shoes, then back up at Sarah. Hey, maybe we can go out for real sometime. Pizza and a movie, maybe. Sarah was pretty sure her heart had just turned a backflip. I'd like that. His expression brightened. How about this Saturday night, if you're free, of course. Sarah fought the urge to laugh. Had there ever been a Saturday night where she wasn't free and when she wasn't free? All the same, she didn't want to sound too eager. I think so, yeah. Great, we'll plan on it then. Sarah couldn't wait for Eleanor to wake up so she could tell her about her day. Finally, after what seemed like ages, Eleanor pivoted her waist and lifted her arms and said, Hello, Sarah. Sarah ran up to Eleanor and took both of her hands in hers. Oh, Eleanor, I just had the best day of my life. Eleanor turned her head. Tell me about it, Sarah. Sarah flopped down on the bed and propped herself up on a pillow. I hardly know where to start. The Beautifuls let me sit at their table at lunch, and they invited me to meet with them at the mall on Sunday. Eleanor nodded. This is good news, Sarah. Sarah leaned forward and hugged the old Freddy Fazbear teddy bear on her bed. And then Mason Blair took me for ice cream after school and asked me to dinner and a movie on Saturday. That's very exciting. Eleanor stepped closer to Sarah, bent at the waist, and touched Sarah's cheek. Is he a handsome boy, Sarah? Sarah nodded. She couldn't stop smiling. Yes, very. Are you happy, Sarah? Sarah laughed and repeated. Yes, very. Have I given you everything you wished for? Sarah couldn't think of a single other wish. She was beautiful and perfect, and her life was beautiful and perfect to match. Yes, you have. Then I have everything I wished for you too, Eleanor said. But remember, even though all your wishes are granted, the necklace still has to stay on. You can never ever take it off, I remember, Sarah said. She was always tempted to ask Eleanor what would happen if she took it off, but part of her was afraid to know the answer. Making you happy makes me happy, Sarah, Eleanor said. Sarah felt tears welling in her newly beautiful blue eyes. She knew she never had a better friend than Eleanor. On Saturday, Sarah was a ball of nervous energy. From the moment she woke up, all she could think about was the date. At breakfast, she was too nervous to eat much, even though her mom had made French toast, Sarah's favorite. You'll drive me to the pizza place and drop me at 6, right? She said. Of course, Mom said, flipping through the newspaper. And you'll just drop me, right? You won't walk in with me or anything. Mom smiled. I promise I will not endanger your relationship by letting your new boo catch a glimpse of my horrifying face. Sarah laughed. It's not that, Mom. You're really pretty, actually. It's just, it looks kind of kiddish when your mom comes in with you, you know? I know, Mom said, sipping her coffee. I was 14 once, too, believe it or not. And did you ride your dinosaur when you went out on dates? Sarah asked. Sometimes, Mom said. But usually I just invite the boy. A, I, I, sorry, I lost track. Invite the boy over to hang out in the family cave. She reached over and touched Sarah's hair. Don't be too much of a smart aleck, or I might decide I'm too old and decrepit to drive you tonight. Have you figured out what you're going to wear? At this question, Sarah let out a dramatic moan. I can't decide! I mean, it's just pizza and a movie, so I don't want to dress like it's the most important event of my life. But at the same time, how I look is really important. So wear jeans and a nice shirt. You're a beautiful girl, Sarah. You look great in whatever you choose. Thanks, Mom. She remembered what Eleanor had said about mothers always thinking their children were beautiful. She knew that her mom would have said the same thing to her, even before she got Eleanor's help. When Sarah's mom pulled into the parking lot of the Pizza Palazzo, Sarah's stomach was so full of butterflies that she couldn't imagine there would be any room for pizza. She knew she looked nice, though, so that was some comfort. Text me when the movie's over, and I'll come get you, Mom said. She reached over and squeezed Sarah's hand. And have fun. I'll try, Sarah said. Until recently, the idea of going out with Mason Blair would have been as realistic as her and realistic of the idea of her going out with a major pop star. It had been a fantasy, something she dreamed of, but never imagined would come true. Why was she so nervous when it's like why was she so nervous when this was something she had wanted for so long? Maybe that's what was making her nervous, the fact that she wanted it so much. But when she walked through the doorway of the Pizza Palazzo and saw Mason waiting for her in front of the hostess station, she immediately felt more at ease. He stood up and flashed his gorgeous smile. Hi, you look great, he said. Thanks. She did not think the turquoise top, and she did think the turquoise top she had chosen went well with her eyes. You do too. He was dressed casually in a hoodie and a t-shirt for some video game, but he would look great in anything. After they got settled at one of the red leather booths with matching check tablecloths, Mason picked up a menu and said, So what kind of pizza person are you? Thin crust, thick crust, any favorite toppings? I'm a flexible pizza person, Sarah said. Man, I'm messing up a lot. Despite her earlier nervousness, she was actually starting to feel hungry. I pretty much just like pizza in general, except for one thing. No pineapple on pizza, ever. Agreed, Mason said, laughing. Pineapple on pizza is an abomination. It should be illegal. I'm glad we agree on that, Sarah said. If we hadn't, I probably would have just had to walk out of here and abandon you. And I would have totally deserved it, Mason. People who eat pineapple on pizza deserve to be alone. They agreed on a thin crust pepperoni and mushroom pizza, and they chatted comfortably about their families and their hobbies as they ate. Mason had a lot of interests, and Sarah realized she probably didn't have enough of them. Before Eleanor, she had spent too much of her free time worrying about her appearance. Now that the problem was solved, she needed to branch out a little, listen to more music, read more books, maybe take up yoga or swimming. As a little kid, Sarah had loved swimming, but once she hit middle school, she was too self conscious to let anybody see her in a swimsuit. By the time she and Mason walked next door to the movie theater, Sarah felt like they were getting to know each other pretty well. He wasn't just cute, he was nice and funny too. And in the dark theater, when he reached over and took her hand in his, it was the most perfect moment of a perfect night. When she got home and was putting it on her nightgown, Eleanor quietly strolled up behind her and put her hand on her shoulder. Sarah was startled but quickly recovered. Hi, Eleanor, she said. Hello, Sarah. How was your date? She asked. Sarah felt a smile spreading on her face just from thinking about it. It was great, she said. He's gorgeous. But I also really like him as a person, you know. He asked. Ugh, I swallowed spit. He asked me if I wanted to go to the basketball game with him next week. I'm not interested in basketball, but I'm definitely interested in him, so I'll go. Eleanor laughed her tiny giggle. So tonight was everything you hoped it would be? Sarah smiled at her robotic friend. It was even better. I'm happy you're happy, Eleanor said, then moved back to her spot in the corner. Good night, Sarah. In the morning, Sarah found her mom in the laundry room. Can you drive me to the mall to meet my friends this afternoon? She asked. Mom looked up from unloading the dryer and smiled. You're quite the social butterfly this weekend. What time are you supposed to meet them? She folded a towel and set it in the laundry basket. They said in the afternoon, Sarah said. That's pretty vague, isn't it? Mom said, folding another towel. I don't know, the way they said it. I kind of felt like I should just know what they meant. She was so shocked to be accepted, even on a trial period, by the Beautifuls, that she was afraid to ask questions. Your new friends expect you to be a psychic? Mom said. You don't like my new friends, do you? Sarah said. I don't know your new friends, Sarah. I just know they were girls who wouldn't give you the time of day before, and now they're suddenly inviting you to hang out with them. It's kind of strange. I mean, what's changed? I've changed, Sarah thought. Just look at me. But she said, maybe they just finally decided I'm a likable person. Yeah, but what took them so long? Mom said. You know what friend of yours I like? Abby. She's smart and she's kind, and she's straightforward. You always know where you stand with a person like Abby. Sarah didn't want to tell her mom that she and Abby weren't speaking to each other currently, so instead she said, 2 o'clock. How about you take me to the mall at 2 o'clock? Okay. Mom tossed a towel at her. Now help me fold. Once Sarah got dropped at the mall, she realized that Lydia hadn't said anything about where to meet them either. The mall wasn't that large, but it was big enough to turn searching for them into a fairly difficult game of hide and seek. She could text Lydia, she supposed, but it kind of felt like in order to be accepted by the group, she had to figure out the way that they did, and she had to figure out the way they did things without making a nuisance of herself. If she was only accepted into the group, and she was only accepted to the group on a trial period, she didn't want to make any missteps. One false move, and she would be back to eating at lunch at the loser table. After a few moments of thought, she decided to head to Diller's, the mall's most expensive department store. The Beautifuls definitely would be hanging out somewhere and wouldn't be hanging out somewhere cheap. Her intuition was good. She found them at the front of the store in the cosmetic section, trying on lipsticks. Sarah, you made it, Lydia said, giving her a crimson lipped smile. As soon as Lydia smiled at her, the other girls smiled too. Hi, Sarah said, smiling back. She really had made it, hadn't she? And not just to the mall. She had great looks, a gorgeous, nice boyfriend, and the friendship of the most beautiful girls in the school. She could never have predicted that her life would be this good. Ooh, Sarah, you should try on this lipstick, Jillian said, holding on a golden tube. It's pink with sparkles. It would look perfect with your skin tone. Sarah took the tube, leaned over the makeup counter mirror, and smoothed on the lipstick. It was really pretty on her. It matched the rosy nail polish that never seemed to fade from her fingers and toes. It looks like lipstick a princess would wear, she said, studying her reflection with pleasure. It really does, Tabitha said, opening up a tube in a different color. Her Royal Highness, Princess Sarah. You should totally get it, Lydia said, looking at her approvingly. Sarah tried to subtly check the price on the lipstick. Packaging. $40. She hoped her shock didn't show. That was more than she'd paid for the outfit she was wearing. But then again, she probably couldn't buy lipstick in a thrift store. I'll think about it, she said. Oh, go on, Emma said. Treat yourself. I want to go browse around a little more first, Sarah said. Since I just got here. She didn't want to admit that the only money she had in her purse was enough to cover a frozen yogurt and a soda. The Beautifuls, however, bought lipsticks and eyeshadows and blush and brow pencils. Sorry, I'm messing up a lot. brow pencils, whipping out wads of cash or their parents' credit cards. After they finished at the makeup counter, they went to look at the formal gowns because, as Lydia put it, prom's just around the corner. Isn't it just for juniors and seniors? Sarah asked. It's just for like, okay, messing up a lot. Sorry for the people listening to this. It's for juniors and seniors and their dates, Lydia said. So if you can find a junior or a senior to take you, then it's just around the corner. She nudged Sarah. Too bad Mason's not older. Yeah, Sarah said, but she didn't mean it. She liked Mason the age he was. Besides, she wasn't sure she was ready to date an older guy. The dresses were really beautiful. They were the color of jewels, amethyst, sapphire, ruby, emerald. Some were sparkly, others were satin smooth and shiny, and others were translucent with lace and tulle. They took turns trying on dresses and modeling them in front of the mirror and taking pictures of one another with their phones. And half an hour of watching them with a sour expression on her face, a sales lady came over and asked, were you girls actually interested in buying anything, or are you just playing dress up? They ditched the dresses and fled the formal wear department, giggling. I don't think that sales lady liked us very much, Jillian said, as they walked out of the store. Who cares? Lydia said, laughing. She doesn't get to judge me. She just works in a store. She makes minimum wage, if she's lucky. I bet she can't even afford to buy the clothes she sells. They went to the food court and ate frozen yogurts and laughed about how naughty they'd been. Do you girls intend to buy anything, or are you just playing dress up? Lydia said over and over again, mimicking the saleslady. They all laughed, and Sarah laughed right along with them, even though she thought they might have been a little hard on the saleslady, who was just trying to do her job. Jillian and Emma had left their dresses as they had tried on, in crumpled piles on the dressing room floor. Now the saleslady probably had to clean up after them. But who was she to criticize the beautifuls? It was an honor they had invited her without an out. Sorry for messing up a lot. Honor that they invited her out with them. It was glamorous and exciting, like she was a guest on a reality TV show. No matter what they said or did, she was happy just to be included. Yesterday, her date with Mason had been perfect, and now she got to be out with the beautifuls. How could she ever express her gratitude to Eleanor? Nothing she could say would ever be enough. That night, when Eleanor sprang to life, Sarah jumped up and hugged the robot's hard little body. Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you for a perfect weekend. You're welcome, Sarah. Eleanor hugged her back, and as always, the sensation was odd. There was no softness in her hug. It's the least I could do. You've given me so much. Sarah settled down happily to sleep, but her rest was disturbed by a strange dream. She was on a date with Mason, sitting in the movie theater, but when she reached over to hold her hand, it was not his hand. She gasped, but Eleanor's tiny, white, metallic, and cold, the same hand she had grabbed to pull the robot girl out of the car trunk. When she turned to look at Mason in the seat next to her, he had changed into Eleanor. Eleanor smiled, revealing a mouthful of sharp teeth. In the dream, Sarah screamed. She opened her eyes to find Eleanor standing over her bed, her head lowered, staring at her with her blank green eyes. Sarah gasped. Did I make a noise in my sleep? No, Sarah. Sarah looked at Eleanor, who was standing so close in her bed that she was touching it. Then what are you doing standing over my bed? Didn't you know, Sarah? Eleanor said, reaching out to brush back Sarah's hair. I do this every night. I watch over you. I keep you safe. Maybe it was because of the dream, but for some reason, Sarah didn't feel like letting Eleanor touch her. Safe from what? Sarah asked. Safe from danger. Any danger. I want to protect you, Sarah. Okay, thanks, I guess. She appreciated Eleanor's concern, appreciated everything Eleanor had done for her, but still, it was creepy for someone to watch you when you didn't know you were being watched, even if they were doing so with best of intentions. I can stand by the door if it makes you more comfortable, Sarah, Eleanor said. Yeah, that would be great. Sarah was pretty sure she couldn't fall asleep back asleep with Eleanor standing right over her like that. Eleanor strolled over to the door and stood guard there. Good night, Sarah. Sleep well. Good night, Eleanor. Sarah didn't sleep well. She didn't know what, but something was wrong. In the cafeteria, Sarah stood in line with the other beautifuls as they waited to empty their trays. Lydia texted the night before saying they'd be wearing their skinny jeans today, so Sarah was wearing hers too. She had bought the jeans and a few tops and a couple of pairs of cute shoes with her mom and had taken her shopping the other week. They also bought a few bras that did her new figure justice. Can you believe what she's wearing? She dresses like a preschooler, Lydia said. Like a preschooler from a poor family, Tabitha added. With horror, Sarah realized the girl they were criticizing was Abby, who was emptying her tray ahead of them. True, Abby was wearing pink overalls, so the preschooler comment wasn't too far off the mark, but it seemed mean to reduce somebody's whole value as a person to the clothes she wore. That's Abby, Sarah heard herself saying. She's really nice. She's been my friend since kindergarten. She almost found herself saying best friend, but she stopped herself in time. Yeah, Lydia said, laughing, but you've bought new clothes since kindergarten, and she hasn't. The beautifuls all laughed too. Sarah tried for a smile, but couldn't quite manage it. When it was Sarah's turn to dump her tray, she slipped on something slippery near the trash can. Her new shoes were cute, but they didn't have any traction. The fall felt like it took forever, but she was sure it was only a few matter of seconds. Then she was flat on her back, right in front of the whole school. Sarah, that was hilarious, Lydia said. What a klutz! She was doubled over, laughing. All the beautifuls were laughing along with her, saying, Did you see her go down? And she hit the floor like a ton of bricks. How embarrassing! In Sarah's dazed state, she couldn't really tell which girl was saying what. Their voices sounded distant and distorted, almost as if Sarah were trying to hear them underwater. Sarah tried to pull herself up, but something strange was happening to her body. She heard weird clashing and clanging sounds and couldn't figure out where they were coming from. It didn't make any sense, but it felt like they were coming from inside her. She was shaking and jerking, and she couldn't make her body move the way it usually did. Her body was no longer under her control. She was scared. Had she hurt herself badly? Should somebody call her mom? Call an ambulance? And why were her new friends not helping her? They were still laughing, still joking about how stupid she looked, and how funny it was. Then the beautiful's laughter was replaced by screams. As if from a great distance, Sarah heard Lydia saying, What's happening to her? I don't understand. I don't know, one of the other girls said. Somebody needs to do something. Get a teacher, quick, another one said. A terrible thought occurred to Sarah. She put her hand to her throat. The necklace Eleanor gave her, the necklace that was never, ever to be taken off, was gone. She must have knocked it off during the fall. She turned her head and saw it on the floor, just a little more than arm's length away. She had to get it back. A hand reached down to help her. Sarah looked up to see the hand belonged to Abby. She took it and allowed herself to be pulled up into an awkward standing position. When Sarah looked down at her body, she saw the reason for the girl's screams. Her body was changing. From the waist down, she was no longer a flesh and blood girl, but a jumbled collection of gears and bicycle spokes and hubcaps, rusted metal odds and ends, cast off useless parts that belonged in a wrecking yard. She locked eyes with Abby and saw her friend's horror at what she was, at what she had become. I've got to go, Sarah said. Her voice sounded different, metallic and harsh. Abby held out the necklace. You drop this, she said. Tears sparkled in her eyes. Thank you, Abby. You're a good friend, Sarah said. She didn't say anything to the beautifuls, who had all backed away from her and were whispering among themselves. Sarah grabbed the pendant and ran as fast as her new shambling makeshift metal legs would carry her out of the cafeteria and out of the school. Home. She had to get home. Eleanor would know what to do, would know how to help her. Sarah was still changing. Her torso was hardening, and when she ran, she made squeaking noises, like a door with hinges that needed oiling. She tried to fasten the necklace around her neck again, but her fingers had grown too stiff to manage the clasp. As she hurried down the sidewalk with a clattering, shambling gait, people stopped to stare at her and stopped to stare at her. Drivers slowed down their cars to gawk. People didn't look sympathetic or even just confused. They looked scared. She was a monster, like something that had been created by a mad scientist in a lab. It was only a matter of time until villagers started chasing her with pitchforks and torches. She felt like crying, but apparently the kind of thing she was becoming was incapable of producing tears. Maybe tears would make her rust even worse. Her joints were getting stiffer and stiffer, and it was growing harder and harder to run. But she had to get home. Eleanor was the only one who could help her. Finally, after what seemed like hours, she reached her house. Somehow she managed to work the key in the door. She clinked and clanked through the living room and down the hall, calling, "Eleanor! Eleanor!" Her voice was a terrible metallic scraping. Eleanor was not in her usual corner of Sarah's room. Sarah searched the closet, looked under the bed, opened the chest at the foot of the bed. No Eleanor. Sarah clomped through the house, searching her mom's room, the bathroom, the kitchen, all the time calling Eleanor's name with her new horrible voice. The garage was the only place she hadn't looked. She used the kitchen entrance, but doorknobs were getting difficult to manage. Finally, after a few desperate minutes of fiddling, she was in the darkened garage. "Eleanor!" she called again. Her jaw was stiff, and it was getting harder and harder to form words. Eleanor's name came out as Anna. Maybe the robot girl was hiding from her on purpose. Maybe it was some kind of joke or game. She looked at the ceiling-high storage cabinet against the back wall of the garage. It seemed like a good hiding place. With some difficulty, she grabbed the handle of the cabinet door and pulled. It was an avalanche. Clear plastic bags holding different objects with different weights and sizes toppled out of the cabinets and fell to the floor with a dull, sickening thud. Sarah looked at the floor. At first, her brain couldn't even process what she saw. One bag contained a human leg, another a human arm. They were not the body parts of an adult, and they didn't appear to be the result of an accident. Blood pooled in the bottom of the bags, but the limbs had been severed neatly as if in a surgical amputation. Another bag, stuffed with bloody snake-like entrails and what appeared to be a liver, slid from the cabinet shelf and landed on the floor with a wet splat. Why were there body parts in her garage? Sarah didn't fully understand until she saw the small bag that held a familiar-looking, potato-shaped nose. She screamed, but the sound that came out of her was like the squealing of a car's brakes. Behind her came a metallic tinkling laugh. Sarah's lower body was almost immobile, but she dragged herself to face Eleanor. "I made your wish come true, Sarah," the pretty robot said with another metallic giggle. "And in return—" Sarah noticed something she'd never seen on Eleanor's before, a heart-shaped button just below Eleanor's throat. That was a double of Sarah's heart-shaped pendant. Eleanor laughed again, then pushed the heart-shaped button. She irked and shook, but she was also visibly softened, her silver finish turning the pinkish shade of Caucasian skin. In a matter of moments, she was a dead ringer for Sarah. The old Sarah, the real Sarah. The Sarah who was looking back on it hadn't been so bad looking after all. The Sarah who'd spent way too much time worrying about her appearance. Abby had been right. She had been right about a lot of things. Eleanor pulled on an old pair of Sarah's jeans, one of her sweaters, and on her tennis shoes. "Well, you certainly made my wishes come true," Eleanor said, smiling with Sarah's old smile. She pushed the button that opened the garage door. Sunlight flooded the room, and Sarah gave a little wave, then skipped out into the sunshine and down the sidewalk. Sarah's ears filled with a deafening clinking and clanking. She couldn't control her movements. Different rusted metal parts disconnected from her and fell clattering to the floor. She was falling apart, collapsing into an ugly trash heap, a hideous, useless collection of garbage to be thrown away and forgotten. In an old mirror propped up against the garage wall, she saw herself. She was no longer a pretty girl, or a girl at all. She didn't resemble a human of any kind. She was nothing but a rusty, dirty pile of junk. She felt sad, then she felt scared, and then she felt nothing at all. So that is the end of the story. Hope you all enjoy. And the next story is going to be Count the Ways, so stay tuned for that. Hope you guys enjoyed, and bye.